celebration. Listen, this firm had it right the whole time. The whole time, this firm, they're trying to clip show me. They're trying to clip show me. What did I say? I say Trump's not crazy. I say we vote for him. Give him some time. Listen, the economy is the economy. We're not dealing with a madman. We're dealing with somebody who's trying to get better deals for the U.S., but he knows you can't tank the stock market. I said, buy Restoration Hardware down 1,000,000%. What is Restoration right now? Get me a quote. Get me a quote on Restoration. I'm looking up Restoration Hardware. I said, buy, because he won't, up 25%. Wayfair, buy, up 20%. I said, Axon, buy, up 10%. Oh, Dave's Grinding lost 7 mil. Let's check in on the old portfolio. I was on CNN. I'm probably in the White House. They're probably like, you know who's the only guy who calls it the right way? And he's going to tell you what you really need to know. The guy over at that firm down the street, DDTG. And he's saying, you got till midterms. I said it would be faster. And guess what? You can't tank a stock market. And Trump knew, and I knew, all he has to do is give us a win, a pause, anything, and we're going to the moon. So let's check it out.
Be leaders ourselves.
Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for Black people.
They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a Black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, and it's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole and Shelly E. Okay. All right, before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. It really helps us on this channel. It helps to get our voices heard, amplify our voice. So please hit that thumbs up. And subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Definitely subscribe. We are here on YouTube. We're also on Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our super chat. We shout out all of our super chats. It's the best way to get your voice heard in the conversation and to show your love for conservative content. And tonight, we have a goal, guys. Our goal tonight is to get 15 red super chats tonight. 15 red super chats. So please, if your heart tells you to do it, those are the ones we're going to shout out tonight. Help us reach our goal. All right. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off.
Let's go.
So you saw at the top of the show tonight, that was David Portnoy. He is the owner of Barstool Sports, and he's a billionaire, I believe, multimillionaire, maybe billionaire, business owner, entrepreneur, and he has some type of stock market company, I believe, right now as well. And he said it. He was like, everyone was saying Trump didn't know what he was doing. We were going to, the stock market was going to fail. And today we see it has soared. It has soared.
Oh, absolutely.
So what are you thinking, Shelly?
Soar like an eagle.
Yes,
this is America. This is the USA. And President Trump, again, he is a man of the people. He understands the people and business, no less. We talked about this several times on our show, particularly with Tyrone here. And it was as nervous nerve-wracking as it may be sometime, again, just hang in there if you're in it for the long term, you're in it for the long term. Dave Portnoy was excited and I love it.
Yeah, Nicole. So it surged today after a blowout 10-year Treasury auction helped calm fears of a financial crisis, delivering a sharp rebuke to doomsdayers who predicted foreign investors would flee American assets in protest of President Trump's trade agenda. So what are your thoughts there?
I love it. Let me tell you, Donald Trump is out here trumping, and it's good for everybody. Like we said, this is a Band-Aid moment for America. Everybody has to do their part, and it includes rich people who are heavily invested in the stock market. Usually, most of the rules for regular people don't apply to them. This was something where they had to show up and be American. Hold what you have. All of the people were saying that. Tyrone, Soldiers of Fortune, was saying that. Hold what you have. It's going to turn around. Now what we're seeing is the rest of the world looking at China saying, what are you doing?
Exactly.
What are you going to do, China? Come to the table.
Well, according to Breitbart, the Dow jumped 5.9%, the S&P 500 rose 7.3%, and the NASDAQ soared 8.9%, capping a dramatic rebound from a week of steep losses triggered by spiking bond yields and escalating global tariffs. So a lot of people have been commenting on this. One person that CNN has had on continuously is Kevin O'Leary, talking about the tariffs on China. Take a look. This is clip 9.
"104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look
like?
I want
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second, Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be
but what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
All right. So let's unpack this, ladies. Before we do, I want to acknowledge our super chatters. We have Shaquana Mincy with the $10 super chat.
Shaquana.
Says, I love this podcast. Thank you so much. We love you right back. Thank you for watching and your support. All right. So let's unpack this. So he's referring to, of course, we know today, President Trump said on social media that he would pause tariff hikes for 90 days on countries that have not done reciprocal tariffs or retaliated. But he did increase the tariffs against Chinese imports to 125%. Shelley, what's your thoughts?
Look, we are sick of China. I think China, of course, is going to be the lone holdout, right? Yes. And again, President Trump is not saying we want to just take over. The word is reciprocal, meaning it helps you, it helps me, vice versa. You know, a little bit for thee, a little bit for me. China doesn't want to do that. China wants to own the market. Kevin O'Leary is right, and so have many other people been. China steals from us intellectual property. They come over and they kind of, I'm going to say, steal land next to military bases. Hell, they even fly balloons over when they want to. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. If I say I'm with Mr. O'Leary there, keep it up, keep going up until China has to, Xi, however you call his name, whatever it is, it'll make me start spitting. But and whatever he has to do to come to the bargaining table, you cannot keep doing this to America. You cannot, like Judge Judy says, you cannot keep pissing on our legs and tell us it's raining.
All right.
Agreed.
Nicole, you agree?
I agree 100%. I love what Mr. Wonderful had to say. I like the way that he kind of ramped up his level of aggression because that's what we need to do. China's not going to be easy to break. They're going to be the ones that are going to fight us the most because they have the biggest dog in the fight. But with the rest of the world at our back, America needs to do what it needs to do to take care of ourselves.
That's right.
Well, we all agree, but there are some cracks on the right, in the Republican movement, not just on tariffs, but also on a recent the Supreme Court decision. So as far as the tariffs are concerned, congressional Republicans and President Trump over his tariff policy, they've been at odds. Some lawmakers looking to strip him of his unilateral tariff authority, and others seeking briefings from the White House on the strategy amid growing economic turmoil. So 7 Republican senators signed a bill led by Senator Chuck Grassley. He's a Republican of Iowa, the Senate's President Pro Temp, and Maria Cantwell, that would require the president to give Congress 48 hours notice of new tariffs, make them subject to congressional approval after 60 days, and allow Congress to rescind tariffs. So I want to ask you guys, because we're seeing this, come out, not just this, but also with Amy Coney Barrett. So, of course, we know she was handpicked by Trump to sit on the Supreme Court, and she just sided against him in the courts. She's not alone. Plenty of Republicans in Congress are turning their backs on the MAGA movement. So here's the real question. Are these people traitors to the cause? Or is MAGA big enough to handle dissent? I want to start with you, Nicole, on this one.
Listen, MAGA can take the dissent. We're used to it. Just because you're Republican does not make you conservative. There's a huge difference. And, here's a hot take. Donald Trump is not conservative. He's not.
Exactly.
He has brought the Republican Party squarely to the middle. And there are those who disagree with him on a lot of things. So I expect democracy to be messy. I expect for Congress not to always agree. I expect for these people to stand up for their particular communities. That's what they were elected for. But ultimately, I expect for them to put America first. That's what we're looking for. Amy Coney Barrett's comment, her part of the dissent, had very little to do with the law. What she was saying is, we can't do this under the secrecy at night and just be sliding people out of the nation. That's a little funky. But ultimately, she's going to stand on the truth. Ultimately. So there are going to be people who exploit when Republicans don't agree, especially the lamestream media. They're going to say, oh, look at them. They're falling apart. There's dissent at the White House. We hear that all the time. They're looking to exploit that, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. Is it enough opinion to slow down a Trump train? Absolutely not. They will come to kneel. They will.
Well, I want to ask you, Shelley, what is the MAGA movement today? Is loyalty to Trump the central requirement?
So, okay, some people would say that, right? The loyalty, the enthusiasm, the Trump represents like the go get 'em, take charge, the alpha male, if you will. So in that sense, I would say yes. However, to Nicole's point, again, I'm not one. I voted for Trump. I said this many times. I voted for Trump 3 times. No apologies, no regrets. There are some things I don't and did not agree with him on either. Even as recently as January 21st. Okay, this year. Having said that, Amy Coney Barrett's dissent was only a portion.
Right.
So we can't be so loyal, if you will, that we are obscure our own thinking.
We're blind.
Or
to it.
blind. Yeah, we can't. We still, and again, to his credit, President Trump, he might, make light, if you will. He doesn't come out saying, I demand full allegiance.
Right.
I think he's big enough. He absolutely has people in his party or in his administration that obviously disagree on some things. For instance, Elon Musk and I forget his name off the top of my tongue.
Oh, Scott Bessent.
Mm-hmm. They're arguing, right, about the tariffs. Mm-hmm. So that's in Trump's cabinet. So therefore, we can't demand full loyalty, or else we are going to be just the same as what we call the left. Mm-hmm. Sycophants, unable to think on our own. If we can't withstand in our party, no less, the freedom of speechers, if you will,
exactly.
The constitutionalists, if you will. If we can't withstand, if you want to call it dissent, disagreement, being able to voice that, then we don't have anything to stand on.
All right.
Absolutely. I agree with that. 100%. 100% of what Shelley said. We are the party of free speech. We are the party of individualism. Exactly. And we're not going to lose that. Well, I think what we saw in Trump's first term is that people thought that they had to walk in lockstep. Mm-hmm. And rather than people come to the table and say, listen, I can disagree with you on 18% of things and agree with you on 82%, and we're good.
Right.
There were so many things moving at such a lightning pace back then that any dissent was like, oh, you're off the island. You're out of here. You're done.
Ronald Reagan was talking about that. The 80-20, if you will, right? If somebody agrees with you on 80% and maybe not, and disagree with you on 20%, okay, that sounds like a win. It's a win, right? That's a good hand to have, right? And again, personally, in my never to be humble opinion, I don't want to be a part of any party, anybody's party. I don't care what you call it, that is going to demand group think. Mm-hmm. Oh, hell no. I will part ways quickly. As a matter of fact, I will think and say something different just because to get it on the record.
Yeah, we do know that. We
refuse to be a monolith.
Yes.
Over on this side, KJ2, come on. KJ.
Right? Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. And for folks who don't know or still kind of don't know what we're talking about as far as the Supreme Court justice, this was Amy Coney Barrett joined. What is that noise?
I think it was just.
Oh, it scared me. Sorry. Amy Coney Barrett joined the liberal justices in a dissenting opinion penned by Sonia Sotomayor. This was the case revolving around the highly controversial claim from the Trump administration that it is entitled to deport Venezuelan migrants under the Aliens Enemies Act of 1798, which they won. He won that. The court sided with him for the majority. So I want to get your guys' opinion in the comments. Is Amy Coney Barrett still a friend to the movement, or has she shown her true colors? Should MAGA Republicans unify around Trump, or allow these so-called principled conservatives to shape the future? You decide. Sound off in the comments. And if you're tired of weak Republicans, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We're not backing down.
One thing.
All right.
Sorry,
I do want to acknowledge our super chatter here. Lightbearer32.
Lightbearer.
Thank you, sis. Talk that talk, Nicole and Shelley. Absolutely.
One thing I want to say about the Supreme Court. One of the, I guess I would say, beauties of having these opinions is that the justices can agree and dissent on various parts of different opinions or an opinion. They don't have to agree in full. They don't have to dissent in full. So this is a beautiful thing where you actually get to see and read their opinions, their thought process, how they came to agree with this part and maybe dissent on this part. That's a beautiful thing.
I think it is too.
It is.
Democracy should be messy. If your democracy is everybody walking in lockstep, you're doing it wrong.
Yes, totally agree. All right, so moving right along to another debate within on the right is Matt Walsh and Megyn Kelly. All right, so Matt Walsh says girl boss culture is toxic. Megyn Kelly says women should chase success just like men. But here's the real question. Are we empowering women or setting them up to be burned out and alone? Let's break down this debate and what it really means for the future of women in America. Take a look. This is clip 1.
A man is not looking for a business partner. He's not looking for someone to provide for him. He wants a wife. He wants a mother for his future children. He wants a helpmate. He wants a woman, not a man. This is not a new phenomenon. Megyn calls this desire of young men a problem that is coming up on the right. but it's not a problem and it's not coming up. Kim Iverson responded in agreement with Megyn and said that she, quote, doesn't get this trad wife trend. But what she's calling a trend, or what Megyn says is just coming up, is in fact the norm. It's the way human society has been organized since the dawn of civilization. A young man seeking a woman who will have his children and prioritize raising them and keeping a home is doing the same thing that billions of other young men have done since time immemorial. This traditional approach is not some new fad invented by TikTok influencers, nor is it a far-right conspiracy. It is the way of human civilization. These young men, they want what their grandfathers wanted, and what their grandfathers' grandfathers wanted, and what their grandfathers' grandfathers' grandfathers wanted, and on through the ages. The trend, the fad, the new thing, Megyn, is feminism. However you feel about career women who find their value and purpose in the working world, there's no question that they are the ones doing something new. Feminism sent women out of the home and into cubicles and boardrooms. Feminism convinced many women to desire professional success over and above family and children. And now feminists are angry that men were not reprogrammed along with them.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. First off, what is girl boss culture? What is a girl boss?
I don't know. You would know, wouldn't you? Better.
Well, to me, it's sort of, well, I've defined it as an aesthetic, a corporate hustle, independence, career first mentality, often tied to feminism and secular individualism. So, I mean, that's what it's just like, you know, get that money, make that money, independence type of thing.
Listen, I mean, you can make your money and be a traditional woman. You know, I am an incredibly traditional person, right? And I absolutely love making money. Let's put that out there. But I think what he's saying is women who forego relationships in traditional cultural building in lieu of going out and
getting rid of one and only focus. And I don't think that's what Megyn Kelly was saying. I saw the Megyn Kelly clip. I saw when she actually did it whatever day.
I saw that one too.
Yeah, and I saw what's his name?
Matt Walsh.
What happened?
Y'all.
Okay, y'all. We gotta tell you all something. Out there in Etherland, our audience, there's some kind of noise going on in our studio, and we can't figure out what it is. So
sounds like it's coming from the basement.
It does.
Yeah.
So that's why we're looking kind of like, okay, what's going on? A little distracted, but
just a pinch.
We're trying to be ready.
He can come up here if he wants to though. Because it's all smoke up here, fam. It's all smoke.
All right, so back to it. So I think what he's getting, I think they're two. Yes, I do agree. They're coming from two separate areas. So it sounds like Matt Walsh is saying that he believes that we have gone away from the traditional culture, traditional women, and sort of, and women have been pushing more towards careers, and they're doing that first, I should say. Going to careers, schooling, education, and sometimes, and I guess his position is when you do that, you do kind of forego doing like the wife family thing early. And so the question is whether this new way of doing it has truly benefited women, or has it just made them more anxious, depressed, and isolated? Like, is this, and we're talking about the ideal. We're not talking about we're talking about the goal.
Yes.
So that's what we're saying. So, I don't know, take a look here. This is, in this next clip, this is,
a rat or a mouse.
Oh.
Well, he's trapped.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
okay. I mean, go ahead.
So
our producer went downstairs to discover what the source of the noise was, and
okay. I mean,
it's good. We're good. We're safe. We're safe.
All right.
Say what?
We're definitely.
Hey, I mean, that's part of life. Hey, they have them in the farms too, so whatever.
We're definitely
Ladies, show.
All right.
Sorry. Okay, sorry.
All right. So I want to take a look at this clip 5. This is
here we are,
boss.
Here we are with Marco and Brian today. They're letting me roll with them. We're going to go out and pick up somebody who I think got charges of human trafficking. We that swept up somebody who was wanted for murder. So appreciate the good work that they do every day, and we appreciate them working to make America safe.
So that's, I mean, she's a boss. She's a rancher. She's now leading the DHS? And she's a boss. So is this what Matt Walsh is talking about, Nicole?
I really hope not, because Kristi Noem has earned her spot. She has been a very successful governor. She is a rancher. She handles firearms all of the time.
Well, I don't think he's saying that they're not. I don't think he was saying that there's not women that are doing their thing. He's saying that these type of women, as far as telling younger women that this should be the goal, should not be what we should be.
Okay, if we're talking about Kristi Noem, I don't think she was telling women that, right? I mean, she has children.
No. I'm not saying Kristi Noem was saying.
No, I'm saying even her type, or whatever she's representing, that's not what she was doing. She was talking about whatever the border, the gangs she caught, the members she caught, whatever. That is her job. So let me say this. To a degree, Matt Walsh, I would say, is right in that the traditions, if you will, or the traditional, that is largely not what's represented or what is the goal today, largely, okay?
Right.
Good, bad, or indifferent. But I don't think it goes, I'm going to stick with what Megyn Kelly said, because again, I agree with her. That doesn't mean she's right because I agree with her. Right. I'm just saying in this instance, I agree with her. Most women, they want to work, or some women, they want to work, they want to have families, and why can't they? Nobody's, like she said in that clip, if I'm not mistaken, we're not out here bashing women who want to work or who want to stay home like his wife does. Fine, why can't there be a space for all of that? But he seems to go, I'm going to say, far in the corner, if you will, or on the other side, to say, almost like he is bashing women for not choosing to stay home if they want a career outside the home. Now, granted, my personal preference, I don't get them. I'm a grown woman. I don't get all my personal preferences. Right. My personal preferences would be for women when they have children, particularly young toddlers, to be able to be home with them, right, at that age, right, until they go to school or whatever the case may be. However, Megyn Kelly was pushing back against Matt Walsh, saying basically your side, or at least what you represent, you seem to have this animus towards women if they choose to work outside the home and be a mother, things like that. And it's not, all women are not going to do that. We're not in the, if people want to say the 50s, or we're not there anymore. So we have to work with what we have and where we are. That's all. I mean, so I don't know why he has to just, down women who do work outside the home.
The last thing we need is a culture war, right? That's the very last thing we need. As many households require 2 incomes in order to make it go. And if a woman is working and still helping to rear the children and take care of the home, it's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but it is what it is. And there's no two ways about that. Right. Not everyone has the resources that the Walsh home has. Right. That, his wife can afford to stay home and rear the children or do whatever it is that she's doing. Most families require 2 incomes. It's expensive to live in the United States.
And newsflash, when I look on social media, there are many conservative women married with children who are working. They're doing like podcasts and whatever. They're not choosing to say, oh no, I'm going to stay home and take care of my family, which is a beautiful thing. Absolutely. They're not doing that. They're not saying, no, I'm not going to work. They are actually making money in the marketplace. So his argument, although I understand the ideal, the traditional, well, then there's ideal, and then I say there's reality.
I think what he's trying to do is change the approach. Yeah. He's trying to change the approach. And I'm not all the way upset with him, because what we have seen in these last several decades, where more and more women are working, are, being girl bosses and things, we've seen increased anxiety and depression amongst women. We've seen workplace loneliness and isolation, burnout and mental health challenges. Studies indicate that women in demanding careers experience high rates of anxiety and depression compared to their male counterparts. We've seen research reveals 80% of women report feeling lonely due to their jobs, with 41% stating the work is the loneliest part of their day. So it has not been all good. And I think what he is talking about is, yes, we're going to have girl bosses. We're going to have women who work in the marketplace. What I disagree with Megyn about when she and we don't have the clip. She said women can have it all, and we can't.
Right.
I don't agree that women can have it all. Whether you choose to work, put all your energy when you graduate from high school, you put all your energy into work and education. There you will miss out on some things. Or if you say, I want to be a homemaker, I'm trying to have find a husband early on, I want to have my babies early, then you're still going to lose some things.
Exactly.
It's different for everyone. And this is where she kind of gets, I thought this was a great conversation she had with Jordan Peterson. This is clip 6.
I speak with a lot of young conservative women regularly. And and they are very aware of everything you've said. They've got their eye on the biological clock in a way the previous generation did not. They understand the risks of waiting too long to choose a partner, all of that. They do get it. But a lot of them still, they want a career of their own. They're driven professionally in that way. And what they ask me, Jordan, is, should I just settle? Should I just settle? I'm 29 now. I have a career that I like. I haven't met the right guy yet, but there are guys who are interested in me. So should I just settle now for somebody who I'm really not that into?
Well, the first thing I would ask is that who's settling in that equation? Like, it's quite the narcissistic proclamation that it's clearly you who's settling, and that might even be more true if you're 29. Because you're competing with a lot of 24-year-olds by that point, and they put a lot less biological pressure on a potential mate.
Okay. So what are your thoughts there, Sean?
Oh, no, I think all of these things are true. Sure. And women, as they age, it's harder to find a mate. I agree with that. One of the things I'm going to go back to with Matt Walsh, one of the things that I don't dislike Matt Walsh. One of the things I don't recall him saying in that clip, he doesn't talk about the men, right? And the men with, you mentioned all of those stats, and those are true for women, but he frames it as if it's the woman's fault, right? As if it's solely her fault. And I'm not saying that women make the best choices because they're women. That's not what I'm saying. But he forgets the other side. There's a counterpart to this. Where are the men? Where are the men who are wanting and able and willing to provide this woman, if you will, the means to stay home? Or to be a traditional wife, the means and the whatever, with all of that that entails. And so maybe that's the quandary that some women, I'll say, find themselves in. So what is a woman to do? Again, if a woman is in whatever, she's going to college, she's coming out of college, if there are no offers, or let's say there are a few offers, or maybe she doesn't know, but what is a woman to do? Is she supposed to just sit home and twiddle her thumbs? No, I mean, I know that's, I'm just being facetious, but what is she supposed to do? Her life still has to go on. She has to make a purpose and something out of her life, whether she's with her husband or not, even if she wants one. And for whatever reason, I mean, again, there's some silly reasons why some women won't marry some men, but I'm just saying, ideally, if there's no mate offering, what is she supposed to do?
Well, let me see. Before we get your response there, Nicole, I do want to acknowledge our super chatters. Thank you all so much. Lightbearer32 says, get your gat and check it out.
You must have read my mind.
Yes. We're definitely safe here.
Yes, we are. All right, Nicole, what are your thoughts there?
So, one of the things I want to say is all of the things that the stats that you rattled off about anxiety, depression. Have you ever stayed home with a toddler? Did you talk about depressed? I'm telling you, when my daughter was a baby, I could not watch another episode of Sailor Moon. I could not. I mean, I was topped out. And it's not because I didn't love her. It's not because I didn't want to nurture her and all of that. But there are some women who are much more social creatures than spending your whole day with a 3-year-old. So although we are life givers, right? We also have the divine right to be outside of the home, Matt Walsh. We absolutely have that right. So let's do this. If we both want to work, Dad, come home for a while. Come home and you can watch 35,000 episodes of Sailor Moon and be quizzed by a 3-year-old afterwards. You know what I mean? It is difficult. Being a homemaker is difficult. It's not an easy job. Rearing children is a hard job, and it never, ever ends. It never ends. We have to find a way to work around fighting each other over who's supposed to do what. It's supposed to be teamwork, I think
because what's going on now is we have seen the pendulum pendulum shift all the way
back to the other
to
side.
the left.
Yeah.
So it's just like we are now, you know, not only telling our girls that they need to get an education, you know, the focus should be get an education, work, you know, do all these things. But then we're saying, and you don't need a man. You don't need a man. You don't need a husband. And then on top of that, you can have a baby without him. You can do in vitro, or you can do in artificial insemination. You can do all these things. You don't even need a man. This is what, and that was never that was never the conversation. That was never right. Yeah, but this is what a lot of women are telling the next generation.
Right. Now, we agree on that. That's number one. That's
so we've gone
we've gone too far. We have gone too far, but the remedy is not for the right to go
all the way back.
It's not either. Right. We still have to, you know, I would say whatever you want to call it, be reasonable, be sensible, and not necessarily.
What he was saying, and just for argument's sake, what he's saying though is what he's saying as far as women, you know, staying in the home, you know, rearing the kids is not a far stretch, because he said feminism, we never were, this was not how it used to be. It used to be this, where the goal was for the man to go out and work and the woman, you know, rear the kids and things like that. So is it actually a far stretch? And number two, I would say, you know, to what you said, another thing, you know, I think a lot of women have an issue with is reality of what it means to be at home and your husband work. A lot of women think they're going to live like Real Housewives, and you know, get all this stuff and
be out partying during the day, lunches and brunches.
Exactly. And they don't want to live a lifestyle of meat. What is it? Humble and not humility. Above your meat. Humility, right? So that's a big thing too. You know, I had a girlfriend who I went to high school with. She wound up marrying her high school sweetheart. She does not work. She may have like a little part-time job, but she would always talk about how she's snapping coupons. They do a lot to curb their
and for her to stay home.
For her to stay home.
It costs a lot of money, right? So, you know, as a traditional person and looking for a mate, looking for an appropriate husband, you know, I'm not looking for somebody who's going to say, honey, you stay home and I'll go make all the money.
Right.
Because, you know, I feel like I have a lot to offer the world still. I feel like, you know, I'm pretty good at earning money. The problem is when men say this is the only way, or women say this is the only way.
Exactly.
We got to find the sweet spot that makes the family work. So what works for Matt Walsh may not work for Megyn Kelly. Exactly. Megyn Kelly is happily married to a man who writes books, and he does so very successfully.
She's wealthy in her own right.
Absolutely. She was a wealthy attorney and all of those things.
Should girl boss be the ideal?
No.
What should we be telling the next generation of women?
I think we should have, like we used to tell them or show them, you know, you do need an education. Now, you don't have to go to college. You can, I mean, at least high school, right? If you want to go to college, while you were going, but ultimately you're going to want 99.99% of the time, you're going to want to be a mom. Most girls want to be a wife before they become a mother, but nevertheless, and so there is it has to be a balance there. While you're in school, you know, check out your mate, check out potential mates, I guess.
Absolutely.
Date, things like that. Date in groups, have fun, you know, get to know the people, your friends, your potential mates, whatever, things like that. But after you get about 35, your chances are of conceiving
35.
After about 35, your chances of conceiving go down even more drastically. Yes, 35, around 35.
30.
Okay, fine.
Well,
but
he says it in this next clip.
They go down
Jordan Peterson, clip 7. Take a look.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, I want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong. I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your talk? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I want to make the switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
Because the right question is, how do I make myself into the sort of person that's so attractive to other people that potential mates are lining up for me? Mm-hmm. That's a way different question than how do I find the person that's right for me? And so, and then with regards to the order of affairs in a woman's life, look, I calculated recently that even an attractive woman, like radically attractive woman, let's say, who often has her own problems, by the way, because she tends to scare men away, right? A lucky woman has 5 potential partners in her life. 5. You get 5 chances. That's it. Now think about let's just think that through, right? Because it's a terrifying way to think. So imagine that you're primarily looking, say, from the time you're 16 at the lowest end to say 30. Because after that, it's starting to get harder because the clock is ticking so desperately. 1 in 3 couples at 30 already have fertility problems, by the way, which is defined as difficulty conceiving within a year, even though the attempts are being made. Okay, so let's say you got 14 years, something like that. Now, how long does it take to find someone and then figure out who they are, especially if they're strangers? You know, before you're going to decide to marry someone, likely you're going to want to know them for a year, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so that's 5 years right there with 5 people. But that also assumes that you go from one relationship to another with no intervening space, so you're not suffering too much, for example, when a potentially promising relationship collapses, or you don't get sick or something doesn't waylay you in your professional career. So imagine 2 years per relationship. That's 10 years for 5. That's assuming that people want to be around you. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you're settling. I get the picture. You don't want to lie to someone and tell them that you find them attractive in all possible ways when you don't, but maybe you could start the bloody process with a little more humility.
So he's saying, he's talking about, she asked him about Megyn asked him about young conservative women that are 29 looking for someone. Mm-hmm. It's tough. And he broke it down. I liked how he broke it down because I never really thought about it that way as far as the years and things like that. But again, it leads me back to you cannot have it all.
No, nobody can.
Megyn said you can have it all.
I mean, I'm not saying she didn't say that. I'm just saying I didn't remember saying that. But I remember somebody that we've talked about before. I remember Jada Pinkett years ago, early in her, I think she may have had her daughter or her son, or maybe both by then. But she did an interview, and I think it was in Ebony, and she was talking about, she gave a speech or something, this idea of women having it all, right? Granted, she's a wealthy woman. She didn't have to work or whatever. But her point was that women, you can have it all, but maybe not at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Maybe, and I thought that was so brilliant.
I agree.
I don't know. I mean, maybe Megyn meant that. I'm not saying she did or didn't mean that. But there's a time when you have your children that, they need you more than ever, if you will, draining you. I still am sleep deprived. But there's pros and cons to every stage of life, certainly to every individual life. Nobody can have quote unquote it all. What is the it and what does all mean anyway? I'm not saying you have to answer that or anybody has to answer that, but there's trade-offs in everything we do in life. There is a trade-off. Some of them are more significant than others, and sometimes the significance may vary from person to person.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
I do have to acknowledge our super chatters here, folks. Thank you all so much. All right, we have here, let's see. Jerry with the $5 super chat. Yes. Take us with you this summer. If you want to adopt us, we would
love to come visit
to Hawaii. Yes, thank you.
I've been there, Jerry. No offense. But...
Kung Fu CJ with the $5
Hey, Kung Fu.
Says try spending your whole day with a dementia patient.
I have.
I have too.
We all
yes,
have.
indeed.
My
It's
dad,
tough.
for sure.
We all have.
Yes, indeed. All right. So, folks, I want you guys to have the final word. Matt Walsh hit a nerve. And for good reason. We've gone from honoring mothers to mocking them. And now we wonder why so many women feel lost. What do you think? Is girl boss culture empowering or empty? Drop a comment, like, and subscribe if you believe America needs to re-embrace real womanhood. All right. So we are changing gears, folks. You guys know we have continued to bring you the details surrounding the Texas stabbing at the track meet of Austin Metcalf. Well, there's breaking news out today. So as we've said before, this was a situation where this was a stabbing that took place at a high school track meet at Kendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas. Last week, it has been a police report has now been released, and it contains detailed information about the alleged events that took place before the fatal incident. Austin Metcalf, a junior at Memorial High School in Frisco, was stabbed after he allegedly got into an altercation with 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony, who is a student at Centennial High School in Frisco. Reports indicated that the dispute began after Metcalf told Anthony he was sitting in the wrong spot. Metcalf was stabbed in the heart. I want you guys to take a look at this next clip. This is attorney Andrew Branca from Law of Self-Defense here on YouTube, and he breaks down the new information. This is, I encourage you all, after you finish watching with us tonight, check out the full video that he posted about this. It's very good. This is clip 2.
The following is a summary of my contact. The witness advised he was sitting under the Memorial High School pop-up tent with his team and was near the victim, Austin Metcalf, and the suspect, who was later identified as Carmelo Anthony. Anthony was from Centennial High School and was sitting under the Memorial High School tent. Austin, the victim, had told Anthony, the stabber, that he needed to move out from under the team's tent, and Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, and reached inside and proceeded to tell Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. This is provocation with intent, folks. These are facts I had not heard before. The stabber is provoking the victim to use force for the purpose of being able to inflict deadly force upon him. That's the most severe form of provocation with intent, and loses you self-defense as a legal defense. These are bad facts for Carmelo Anthony. Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony pulled out what the witness recalled as a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Austin began grabbing his chest and telling everyone to get help, You notice he's not instantly dead. It's terrible. I mean, he's mortally wounded. It's all over, but he's got a few seconds to think about things while all the blood is pumped at high velocity out of his body. Telling everyone to get help, the witness advised he did not know Anthony's name, but stated another Memorial Track member was friends with Anthony and he could identify Anthony. Witness described Anthony as a black male, skinny, with a possible goatee, short, puffy hair, wearing Centennial High School clothing. This concluded my contact with the witness. I was then instructed to start a crime log. Nothing further to add.
Wow. All right. Shelley, what are your thoughts after seeing that?
It's still heart-wrenching just to even hear it. More details are coming out, of course. One of the things I thought about over these last few days, I listened to social media or seeing people on social media talking about Metcalf, that he was in the wrong. He touched Anthony, and he probably still will use it as a self-defense, legal defense. But one of the things I thought about was that as a firearms instructor, we teach as part of the mandatory teaching is that we cannot be, when you carry a concealed weapon or when you carry a weapon legally, you cannot be the instigator. You cannot be the provocateur, right? You cannot be, because your defense goes out the window. Because you have a weapon, and I'm talking about a legal weapon, okay? Because you have a weapon, regardless of what it is, you have to de-escalate, be situationally aware, and you have to at least, I'm going to say, leave, right? So you got to take all of the insult, all the whatever, but you definitely cannot be the provocateur. You do have a right to always defend yourself when and if the need arises. So that's what I think about. This is how I related to that. And one more thing I want to say real quick. In regards to Savannah being hit or punched, assaulted by that beast. People were asking.
Tell people what you're talking about. New York City.
The New York City, right? People were asking
pro-life
when I think her name is Brianna. Okay, I'll call her Brianna. When Brianna walked away and she was mocking and making all kinds of dance. Right. Some people were asking, well, why didn't her husband or someone else go and tackle her and hold her down for the police? And I was telling someone, I said, from a firearms teaching, if you will, once the threat is no longer there, you cannot go after him or her. So in the case of a firearms, I was just relating that teaching. I don't know New York law specifically, but my best guess is that had her husband or anyone else went to go to tackle her, right, the threat was already removed from Savannah. And not only that, Savannah in all instances probably would have been the one that needed to do that, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. Again, the laws are going to vary, but that's just the general teaching. So I can understand Mr. Branca, the attorney, breaking it down. It makes sense what he's saying. I still believe that his attorneys will use a self-defense legal.
Of course,
thing.
And for you guys who may not have seen our episode on Monday, we had Savannah Craven on. She is the pro-life activist who was badly beaten in New York City while doing a man on the street interview. So what are your thoughts? Back to Texas. What are your thoughts on this tragic stabbing?
That's exactly what it is. It's a tragedy all the way around. It's a tragedy for the families. Everyone is suffering, but make no mistake, he had no business being there, right? He had no business bringing a knife or a weapon on school property. Right. It's just not done. It's not done here, and it's certainly not done in Texas. Right. So there's a lot of fault that lays at play. Of course, they're going to try self-defense defense. And what I've understood is there's a cultural difference. When people of the African-American culture, Black culture say, don't touch me, don't put your hands on me. It doesn't sound to us like a threat. It's more like a warning.
Right.
You're getting too close, you're doing too much. But in other cultures, it's a threat. If don't touch me or you're going to see what's going to happen. It is incredibly provocative. But in certain corners of our particular community, it sounds like he just didn't want someone to touch him. Right? I can sit here if I want to sit here. It's raining. You have a tent. I want to be under the tent. So I see where there's a disconnect. What I don't see are the people who are looking for a way to explain away this young man took another young man's life. There's no explaining that away. You know, he admitted to committing this crime. There has to be repercussions. There has to be accountability for this. And that's what makes it sad, because not only is Hostin resting in his grave, God forgive him, right? Take a look at what's going to happen to this young man. He's going to have to live in his hell, you know, because Texas don't play. I mean, had he committed this crime in Maryland, he'd be at home on an ankle bracelet, right? But in Texas, honey, no, they don't do that.
It's still very bizarre to me. So we know some people, where you guys saw the clip we put out responding to our brother stationed here, Just the Guys, talking about these boys were red flags. But that's not the case. And again, additional information has come out. The stabber, Anthony, is from a home, two-parent family. They're actually pretty, I'm not gonna say well off, but the middle class family.
Believers, absolutely.
Yeah, but believers. So it's just very bizarre that he would do this.
I don't know why I was gonna say. I don't know why you think it's bizarre.
It's not bizarre to me.
Why do you think it's bizarre? Just because of what you just.
Because he comes from a good home, you think it's bizarre?
Well, when I say that he comes from a good home, you know, I'm responding to our conversation from last week.
Sure.
But two, it's because it's out of the norm for a 16-year-old boy to do that.
No, I know.
No, you're talking. You're. I think
to haul off and now again, because I've seen this scenario play out
for sure
all the time. Yes. Oh, I mean, goodness gracious. Make me move. You know
what you want to do.
Yeah. You touch it. I touched you. Oh. Hit me. If you hit me, then I'm going to do something. But to stab him?
Okay, so
you're saying this is normal?
No, not the stabbing. I was thinking you're talking about just because of the two-parent family, you know, their middle class, things like that, because that's not abnormal in that sense. I think people have this ideal that because you have a two-parent family and you're middle class, that these are the things you don't do. Now, granted, murder is wrong for anybody. Okay, that's number one. No matter right.
I'm not talking. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying right. But the thing is that it's not. All right, I'm going to say this, and I know you might disagree. I think we as humans, we tend to think that somehow or another, culture does not have as much influence as parents. And unfortunately, culture has at least as much, sometimes more, if not more, particularly at certain ages. So the culture, this young boy, whatever his name is, Anthony, my suspicion, Carmelo, from the pictures that he had on social media, he was heavily influenced by the hip hop culture, if you will, or the rap culture, whatever you want to call that culture. He was heavily influenced by it, regardless of the lengths that his parents may have gone to give him a quote unquote better life. Culture is significant. Culture has and can have and maybe will have a significant impact on teenagers and above for the most part, because at some point they are learning how to leave the nest, and at the same time they're finding their own way, all this stuff. So a lot of parents don't want to accept or believe the significant impact that culture can have.
Oh yeah, well, I definitely agree there.
I agree with it 100%. As we look across some very significant and notable crimes that have happened in, say, the last year or so, Luigi Mangione comes from a tremendous family.
Absolutely.
A tremendous family. Having every advantage does not, by any stretch of the imagination, excuse you from being impacted by culture. Now, I'm not saying because he listened to a certain kind of rap, it made him feel some kind of way, because I listen to all kind of music, you know. It doesn't make me want to go out and stab somebody who I feel like is encroaching on my personal space. But there is a certain pathology, if you will, to the way that some people are looking at this. People are lining up. It was a black thing, a white thing.
Oh, I know.
No, this is a boy thing.
Right.
If you've ever been around more than one teenage boy at a time, you need to know that that testosterone is so high, they would fight to the death over a pretzel given the opportunity to.
Now, I still think that there is, I want to know again why he even came to the meet, the tent. I don't, from what I've read, unless I'm misunderstanding, he was not even in the meet or whatever, in the race.
No, they said he was a track, his school was participating.
But
he wasn't running.
Oh, right. He wasn't. So why was he, I mean, of course you can go support your classmates or whatever, I get that. But why was he there? Why did he bring the knife? Why did he go to the wrong tent?
Right.
It wasn't his,
it was
wasn't
pouring
even,
down rain.
Yeah, it wasn't even his school's tent.
Right.
Even if you want to
maybe his
support,
school didn't have a tent. I don't know.
I mean, wouldn't they have a
not every school has a tent. Not every school has one. Maybe his school
I still think there's some more background to this.
Yeah. But just want to go first before we move on. I want to acknowledge our super chatters. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's see here. We have Lumpy Grits.
Hi, Lumpy. It has been a while.
Hey, my favorites. It's been a while. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Thank you. Red Bucks with a $10.
Thank you, Dave.
Says you ladies dress so colorful, beautiful beauties, all smart too. Dave from Levittown, PA.
Thank you,
you.
Dave.
Kung Fu CJ says Anthony has a GoFundMe that has over 200,000 in it.
Wow.
Yeah, they took that down. So they took it down because it goes against their community standards.
Oh,
GoFundMe
wow,
will
finally.
not let you raise money for someone who
for a crime. Something of a crime. Okay.
We Robin with the $20 super chat.
Thank you, Robin. That's so nice.
Lumpy Grids, $10 super chat. Thank you, says if y'all ever get down to Tennessee, give me a shout and we'll go do some plinking. I'm a lifetime enhanced carry gun myself. Oh, yeah.
I would love it.
I'm trying to get to Tennessee.
Let's go.
All right. So I wanted to just bring you guys just a little bit about the Texas statutes that apply to this case. So for the crime of murder under Texas law, Penal Code 9.02, you commit the offense of murder if you intentionally cause the death of an individual. So did he intentionally cause the death? Yeah. I mean, from what we have, he stabbed him in the heart with a knife. You're likely to kill them. So if you stab somebody in the heart and it's intentional, it's very difficult to have a defense case with that. Also, as far as a defense case under Texas law, is there evidence from which a reasonable person would have received that Metcalf was presented himself as an imminent, unlawful threat of deadly force harm to Anthony that required Anthony to stab Metcalf in the chest to kill him?
Right.
And from what we have so far, again, based off of the police report, didn't say anything about they gang. You know, there was a gang on him.
Jump on him,
you know, that he attacked him in any type of way. That there was any type of none of that was listed. So, look good.
Yeah, there's a lot more questions that I have. I had one other question. I'm sorry, I know we gotta move on. And again, don't take this as me blaming Metcalf or anything, but I wonder why he went to approach Carmelo. That's why I think I think it was some more. It's more details that we need to.
We don't know the whole story, and I agree with that. There's so much to the story that has not yet been released. And with all of the fake accounts and the fake, news that's coming out, I understand why the police are playing it close to the chest. But this is a story worth watching because it kind of exposes all of American culture.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right, folks, thank you guys so much for watching. Please continue to hit that like button. It really helps to amplify our voice here on YouTube. It helps raise our get our channel in front of more people, gets this actual broadcast in front of more people. And that's really what we want. So please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, check out our merch. Folks, you got to see, we have our mugs here, not black, not white. We are Americans. And then you can go to our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com/shop and get all of your t-shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, hoodies, You can get it all right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we have another super chat here, looks like. Okay.
Lumpy grits
Lumpy.
again.
Yes. Let's see
Lumpy,
here.
you are coming back roaring.
Let me tell you, tearing the chat up.
$5 super chat says correct. 12 to 20 plus. It's nothing but a daily pissing contest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's important that adults pay closer attention. Not that I'm blaming anyone in this situation, but boy, what would we have given to have a coach, assistant coach, a vice principal, somebody to intervene between these two young men?
Yeah, I mean, generally at these track meets, especially at this age, they're not usually the coaches, right? The coaches are on the track, so they're trying to get the next person right
up for their race, make sure they have everything.
And then so the boys or the kids are just pretty much about their own way. There, Lumpy Grits again says correct. 20 plus is nothing. Oh, we did this. Yeah. So again, our prayers are to all those that are involved in this case. And folks, just stop with the racial stuff. This is what we're seeing all over the internet, making this thing about race. And even in the Black community, people are saying, just creating all types of nonsense.
I got a prediction
surrounding this. Oh, what's your prediction, Shelley?
Unfortunately, I have this prediction. I think that this case is going to be, what do they call the O.J. Simpson case? The case of the century.
Really?
I think this is going to be, I think this is going to be, I guess, up there to that degree. I really do.
It's so open. It seems open and shut to me.
I just think it's going to be, I'm talking about the impact or the significance, I think it's going to be as significant as that, how this plays out. I just do.
I just think, one, he's already confessed to the crime spontaneously.
Right.
But
he's 17 and a good lawyer is going to argue that.
Let me tell you, get through all of that. But here's the thing. I think what's going to happen is we're going to discover the real reasons of what happened and why he behaved the way he behaved and what really happened between these two young men that cost everybody everything.
Yes.
And I think that we have a choice, America. We can make this a racial divide. We can make this about boys being boys and too much testosterone, or this can be a rally cry to stop this behavior now. Over emotionalism. Somebody bumps you, you don't get to shoot them. Well, you don't.
Shelley brought up a good point. Shelley brought up a good point about culture. And now that does take us back to the racial aspect of this, because we do see within Black culture, or I'll say even urban culture, we see this high level of violence,
overreaction. Again, emotionality is not the answer, but people have this, if you get within 18 inches of me, you're a threat. Right? If you get within 12 inches of me, you're a threat that I'm going to handle. Within 6 inches, it's on and popping.
Exactly.
Right? But we have got to get to a point where we're not so touchy with one another. Yeah. And we have to start with our children, because America can't keep burying boys.
Right.
We just cannot.
One of my girlfriends always told me, she was say when you have a son, hug him.
Absolutely.
Hug him, because there are so many boys that don't get hugs.
Yeah.
You have parents who believe you shouldn't be affectionate with their male kids. So if you have a son, the best you can do, particularly as a mother, is hug your son.
I hug sons that ain't mine.
Right.
Daughters ain't mine. I hug. First of all, I love teenagers. I love teenagers. I do. I hug them. But to your point, Nicole, you said how we just need to, get teach our children better. Sure. It's interesting because how we have this over emotionalism. Quick example. This was very recently. I don't know. I think I was in a store somewhere, and a lady about my age or whatever, she kind of stepped on my foot. All right. And I said, no problem. She was so apologetic. Right. I said, no problem. I said, look, this is life. I said, look, we're not out here fussing. She was like, thank you. She said, because I'm so tired of it. And this is a Black lady. She said, I'm so tired of hearing Black people argue and fuss over the dumbest stuff. And I was like, you just stepped on my foot. And she was like, it was just like a relief to her. Right. And it was like,
people will do
I know. I'm like, it was just so wow. Like you said, this over emotionalism.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was just reading online today. They had it was a woman. She was just coming back from having dinner with some girlfriends. She stopped behind somebody in traffic. She accidentally hit the person in the rear. Guy got out the car and blew her head off.
Well, listen, you see the two ladies fighting in TJ Maxx?
No,
because the one woman wouldn't move out of the way. So there's a woman with a baby in a cart, and TJ Maxx's aisles are real thin. They're super skinny. So she's shopping, and there's another woman that comes behind her. She's like, "Excuse me, can I get by?" And the woman with the cart was like, "No, go around the other side." And she was like, "Can I just squeeze by you?" This devolved into two middle-aged women throwing fists in a TJ Maxx.
People are crazy.
People have lost their sense of what makes a decent community, a decent culture. If that had been me, and she's like, "Go around," I would have flipped the bird all the way around, right? But I would have went around because clearly this woman has something. She has something. And is it worth losing my life over? Is it worth me killing her over? Absolutely not. At some point, we have to give value back to life, right? And if we cannot start with in the womb, hear that, then we could at least teach our children to value the lives that they had.
And who is leading the charge behind killing these babies in the womb? It's people that look like us. So how, again, as a culture, are we going to say we value life? It's not us, and we don't even value the babies in the womb. We don't do it. It's us leading this stuff, this crap. So, I mean, we have some super chats here. Guys, thank you guys so much. Tijuana Border Jumper says tragedy. Yes, thank you. 2 lives destroyed. Hey, ladies, thank you so much for your $5 super chat. Lumpy Girl says, yes, we did see this one. All right.
But I just think there's a lot to be said for, like you were saying, hugging your sons. Skin hunger is a thing. Hug your daughters too. Because the last thing you want is a child who is so devoid of human touch. The very first man or the very first woman that touches them, it just steals their world, completely away from them. I have 19 nephews. My oldest nephew is 32, married, kids, and I hug him like he was just born. Hug him, kiss him, ask him what's going on. Children crave affection. So if you have a daughter and she's in that terrible 12-ish, she don't want you touching her, just hug her
anyway.
Hug her, kiss her, tell her you love her, buy her a Barbie, and she's like, "Mom,
I'll hug your sons. I'll hug your sons and daughters too if I met you out there in our audience."
First of all, line them up at the door. We're gonna hug them and kiss them all.
Well, unfortunately, we have to move on to this next case. This is another tragic one. Tijuana Boys. I need a hug, Nicole.
I would hug you so good.
All right. With the clip, okay.
You didn't make KJ's whole night. Look at her. Blushing. Look at her. Get it, KJ.
You the one that Lovey Girls $5 said, "I hug my 24-year-old on regularly. He's single. If anyone wants to claim him."
I know that's right, Lumpy. I know that's right, Lumpy.
All right. So moving on to another tragic case. Horror in Brooklyn, New York. So an uncle recently went on a rampage with a meat cleaver. Have you guys been following this story? Stabbing his own nieces. Take a look. This is clip 10.
When officers and EMS arrived, they were led into the first floor by an uninjured child and led into a small vestibule facing 2 more doors. At that point, they heard screams coming from behind the door to their left and immediately began forcing their way into the apartment, kicking down the door. Once they entered, they encountered a man standing near the entrance holding a large meat cleaver covered in blood, and they could see blood on the floor and the walls of the home. The officers ordered the man to drop the weapon several times. He refused and advanced towards them. 2 officers discharged their firearms, firing 7 total rounds between them and striking the subject, ending the threat. This encounter is captured on body-worn camera video. Inside the apartment, officers found 4 female victims aged 16, 13, 11, and 8. All had serious slash and stab wounds, and responding officers and EMS provided emergency medical care on scene before the victims were removed to Maimonides Hospital. At this time, all 4 children, thank God, are expected to survive, but this could have ended very differently.
All right. Wow. So this is actually part of a disturbing pattern, and it raises a tough question. Are we long overdue to bring back mental institutions? Nicole, what are your thoughts there?
Yes. It's a long time overdue. I get it. There were abuses that were horrific, make no mistake. But in our advancements and cameras and audio equipment, that kind of thing, we have to have somewhere to put people who their families can no longer take care of. Because what ends up happening is they don't take their medication, they're self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, and they're homeless on the street. These are the same type of people that you see in New York City punching random people in the face, or here in Baltimore City, punching random people in the face. So you don't.
I was at jury duty, I was in Baltimore City. I had jury duty, and I was out for lunch. And I'm just walking, and a homeless guy came up to me, and he came right in my face, bitch! He screamed at me like that, and then he went to jump at me, and people removed him.
Wow.
Yeah.
But we have to do something with them. They need treatment. They need to be housed for sure. Right. And so I'm not talking about mental institutions circa the early 70s and 60s where people were strapped to beds and lobotomies and husbands was dropping their wives off like, I can't take her no more. I'd like the secretary instead. But I'm talking about actual behavioral health care. Right. There are some among us that can be medicated and do wonderful things in life. Right. But there are those who are criminally violent because of their mental illness. Those are the people I'm talking about. When we think about the case of Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely, that was just tragedy waiting to happen. Either Daniel Penny was going to handle that problem, or that problem was going to handle everybody else in that train car, as he had before, punching old people, punching young people. We have to protect more of our community. It cannot be that the community has to suffer because we're going to do right by one person. We have to do right by the masses.
Right.
Let me ask you, Shelley, because starting, I think, was in the 60s or 70s, mental institutions were shut down in favor for more community-based care.
Right.
So what do you think? Do you think we need to go back to the mental institution?
Oh, absolutely. I think we can do both. There are some who need to be institutionalized because of their mental illness, and they become, like you said, criminal, and they become criminally violent. They need to be institutionalized. There are some who can function in the community, who you're able to keep on their meds. They can keep checking in with the medical staff, their appointments, things like that. They can hold down a reasonable job that fits their capacity, where they can be productive in that way. So I think we can do both. Our problem was, like you said, we went to the extreme, and we were talking earlier, we went to the extreme and got rid of the institutions. Right? Yes, there were abuses going on. The abuses needed to stop. The abuses needed to be prosecuted, uncovered, if you will, and certainly corrected. We don't have that largely anymore. There are very few and far between for people like this person, I'll say. But I'm going to go further. I think this is some kind of witchcraft. I don't know. It just sounds like it to me. Witchcraft. I mean, I think he's schizophrenic, maybe. For sure. Delusional, hallucinating, things like that. But I don't know. I don't know all of these. This is just my speculation. I would not be surprised if there was some kind of street drugs involved. Some of this weed that's supposed to be weed today, laced with something. All of these things. I mean, not only that. I'm going to ask the question. I'm not asking to blame. Why were the children left with him or in this care? I'm not asking to blame, but he didn't just snap like this, or he didn't just become mental overnight. And what happens is, in many families, many people, they are in denial about their loved ones. That's why I'm asking that question. They're in denial about their loved ones, particularly parents. They think, oh, I know Johnny or Susie's not going to do that to me. I'm mom. I know my child best. Well, parents can't fix everything, and family members can't fix everything. There are some illnesses, particularly mental illnesses, that need serious medical psychiatric intervention. And sometimes part of that intervention is being institutionalized.
Well, what happens when mom and dad die, right? So
Well, they can't handle them when they're alive, but yeah.
That's true. But, I saw a documentary on Netflix. I can't remember what the young man's name was, but he was profoundly disabled. He was almost nonverbal. And there was a woman who was allegedly using his hand to type messages so that his family felt like he was speaking. Well, really, she was guiding his hand left and right. And in the meantime, she was raping him, right? So she fell in love with him. And she said, he said he wanted to have sex with her. And she was a married woman, right? But so she's having sex with this clearly disabled young man. And his family found out about it and was like, well, wait a minute, we didn't hire you for the sex. That's not, well, I'm in love with him and it's love and this and that. So what ends up happening is, she goes to jail for a little bit of time. And I mean, a very little bit of time because it's happened in the blue state. Very little bit of time. She lost her certificate to teach, and she was a professor of some kind of foolishness. So all of that to say, this young man now lives with his elderly mother. And from someone who had no sexual urges is now incredibly sexual with his mother, who's not able physically to take care of him. She's an old lady.
Right.
What do you mean he's sexual with his mom?
His sexual proclivities have been peaked or sensitized.
Right. He went from desensitized to fully sensitized.
Right.
So she's finding him masturbating and all these things. And she's a lady of some age. And she's like, what the what? It is devastating not only to him, but to the rest of his family. So what happens when this mother dies? Who's going to take him in?
Right.
Who's going to take care of him? And I'm not saying you should institutionalize everybody. That's not what I'm saying. But for people who are repeat offenders, who are a harm and danger to themselves and to the public, we have to do something. And I agree with you, Shelley. We should have did something back then. Instead of closing everything down, we should have prosecuted the people and held them up to be examples of what's going to happen to you if you continue with this foolishness. But technology has come so far that we can keep a better eye on people, like we do with dementia patients.
Yeah, put the
video camera. Let me tell you, I put an air tag in my dad's wallet. We did not get lost. Because people's like, your dad's going to get lost. I was like, no. He's got the watch. I'm tracking him. He's got the air tag in his wallet. I'm watching every move he makes. There's ways to track people and to take care of things.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to go back to what you said about the witchcraft, and I hadn't even thought about that. But what we're finding, and this brings us to our next segment about this illegal immigration, that a lot of people coming in over our southern border from these different areas believe in the occult. It's, I had a friend who worked in home insurance. He would go into homes and assess damage and things like that near the southern border. And he would talk about how they are doing a lot of witchcraft. These people coming in from all of these, Latin, South American countries, they believe in, doing witchcraft on the kids, with that, like you said, with the stabbing and all this types of stuff. So again, it goes back to culture. This is another reason why we have been talking about how we, want to maintain the American culture, because when we open it up to all of these other different cultures that come in and they do not want to assimilate.
Nope.
And then we start to undermine what America is really about. And that leads us to this next subject about this illegal immigration. Do Americans want Trump going after illegals? This was a very contentious debate on CNN between Abby Phillip and Scott Jennings. This is clip 4.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong. I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your talk? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that. 7 million means that they're not just going after criminals.
Well, they're going after people who are in the country illegally, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the criminals, this is a much bigger universe.
Doesn't that make you a criminal?
No, it doesn't.
To come across the border illegally?
Coming into the country illegally is a civil offense. It's not a criminal offense.
Okay, if you come into the country illegally, here's the message. We're going to find you and send you back. I mean, I'm sorry, that's the way it is. And I think the government should pull all the levers at its disposal to find people and pull this off. It's what the American people asked Donald Trump to do. Yes, they should be deporting violent people. Yes, they should be deporting people who committed violent acts before they came here. But at some juncture, if you're going to allow any illegal immigration at all, the message then goes out. Just get here. It'll probably work out for you. That was the last administration. This is a different one.
Why are these leftists always taking up for criminals? For lawlessness.
You know what I find interesting? It just dawned on me. They are so intent on making the distinction that, oh no, it's a civil offense, right? They're not criminals, not a criminal offense. But yet, let somebody say that Donald Trump was accused, the lady accused him of raping her. They'll say that he was a criminal, but it was a civil suit. They don't want that distinction with that, right? They're always on the wrong side because, again, they want to destroy America. And certainly, even more so, they certainly want Donald Trump to just fail, period. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's just, it's as clear as day to me. If you come over our border illegally, then you are criminal. You are a criminal. You have committed a criminal act. You want to call it civil, whatever.
You broke the law.
You broke the law.
Let's just keep it nice and breezy. So here's the problem with these talking heads. Everybody is looking for the shades of gray. Let's just look at the black letter law that says if you cross our border without our consent and permission, honey, you're a criminal. Whether you're a civil criminal or this is an actionable crime, you have broken black letter law in this nation. The fact that we've allowed you to stay. Somebody said that, and I'm going to get biblical for just a moment. Somebody said this, because God gives you grace in one instance, doesn't mean that grace turns into favor and it's going to cover every crime you commit.
Exactly.
So you snuck here, you've been here for 30 years, now it's time for you to go.
Right. But these are the same people, these people will not, they would not allow someone to cross their gated community property.
First of all.
Oh no, they would call the police, the armed guards in a heartbeat and have you hauled out. They are so phony, but yet they want to destroy America. They get on your nerves because I wish we could just be at that round table.
No. Let's do that. Let's go downtown and bust into CNN. Because clearly they don't have an issue with security, right. and we'll claim that we're not from DC, we're from another state,
another country,
and from another show, and we really like this particular set, so we just gonna camp right here next to you, boo. And what is that? A crime because I broke into? No, it's a civil penalty.
Yeah, it's a
civil penalty. Now give me the microphone so I can educate your audience.
Yeah,
this is what we should do.
Yeah,
because what they're saying is patently false. But again, it shows you that the Democrats still have not found their footing. They still have not found their footing. But I say this as a warning. as Republicans and conservatives, we can't rest on them not having their footing. We still have to advance the ball, because if they had the ball, they'd be ramming it down our throats. We have to do the same thing. We need to get all of our agenda passed. We need to back this, as Trump says, big, beautiful bill. We need to back this big, beautiful bill and get our country back. It's good for everybody, including them.
Yes.
It's good for everyone.
And someone just said, and I thought the same thing, that it's actually a criminal offense, because I thought Tom Homan had mentioned that crossing the border illegally is a
black letter
offense.
law. It's
It's a criminal offense. But folks, we got to understand, we haven't talked about this in a while. We used to say a lot back in, I believe it was 1956 or 40, they came out with 45 goals of the Communist Party.
Yes.
And one of those goals was to infiltrate the media, infiltrate the media with, communists, and also break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography, obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, and TV. We are seeing all of this.
Absolutely.
More and more. And so this is what we're doing. These news pundits, they are infiltrators probably of the Communist Party, of, the Marxists. They're setting them in places of where they can speak to the masses and trying to push their communist and Marxist agenda. Folks.
That's right. And look, what you're saying, KJ, I want to add to it. What KJ said, if you have a hard time finding that, you can Google the 45 communist goals that was entered into Congress. Also, go to YouTube and Google Yuri Bezmenov. He's the Russian, I don't know what you call it, I forget, a former Russian spy, whatever. He gave that interview in the 60s, 70s, and he laid it out as clear as day. If you want to be visual, if you want to read it. Go Yuri Bezmenov.
Right.
Clear as day.
Yep. And I have it here. It's actually January 10th, 1963. Congressman Albert S. Hurlong from Florida read the list of 45 communist goals for America. We have to continue to call this stuff out, because it just doesn't make sense. And part of the Marxist ideology is they take things that are simple and they make it very complex. They not only do that, but they change the vocabulary, they change the meanings of words. We are seeing this in present day. We certainly are. So I see you guys sounding off in the chat. We have some super chats here, folks. Thank you so much. Let's see here. All right.
Say it again.
Tijuana Border Jumper says that's demonic activity.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Without question.
Kung Fu CJ says St. Elizabeth Hospital was in DC. They closed it down because they couldn't keep the patients inside.
That's true. They were wandering all over town.
We had one here in Crownsville. I forget the name of it, but it was in Crownsville that closed down.
Tijuana Border Jumper says, come to Tijuana. There are witchcraft stores and Sears on every block. Wow. Kung Fu CJ says there are certain verses from the Bible trigger evil spirits.
Agree.
Yeah, I agree there. And
scrapping.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
KJ's gonna
make beauty
skin.
$10.
Girl, oh my illegal.
Lord have mercy.
U.S. the hospitals, the schools, and the housing. Yes.
Sorry.
Light Bearer 32. Say it again for the people in the back, Nicole. 100%. KJ needs a minute. So come on and show some love. You want to show KJ some special love, give her a virtual hug by hitting the like button and subscribing.
And buying some sweatshirts and t-shirts at the
Get some merch.
All right. Last
She's back. She's revived.
Well, before you go in there, also the merchandise, of course, poppinpoliticslive.com. And don't forget, we have some sister stations across the MCM network. You can go to watch Just the Guys. I'm getting my train of thought lost here looking at KJ. Just the Guys, KJ Christian Conservative, of course, Poppin' Politics, and All American Talk Show.
Just the Guys podcast, because there's another Just the Guys, but Just the Guys podcast. It is a hot show. Ladies, if you ever wanted to hear what men really think, you need to watch this show.
Yes,
it is. I don't miss it. Don't miss it. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yes, indeed. All right, folks. Final segment of the night.
It's the haunted episode.
Thanks, Shannon. Final segment of the night. Speaking of critters, Sunny Hostin.
Oh gosh.
So take a look at this. This is clip 3.
The reason Democrats don't want voter ID is because they make it much more difficult for elderly people, people that don't travel, don't have a passport, poor people, that don't have cars, don't have driver's licenses. So it's sort of a vestige of, I think, post-slavery laws where Black people had to prove their right to vote, and oftentimes they couldn't vote because they couldn't pass some crazy test or they didn't have the appropriate ID. It also affects women that are married. Maybe your passport reflects something that's different on your birth certificate or on your driver's license. So really the bottom line is voter suppression. And I agree with him 100%. It's a brilliant notion that less voter ID laws allows more people to vote. And most democracies do it that way. We're the only ones that really don't do it that way.
Right. I mean, I think it's been considered fact by most that the more people that vote, the more likely it is that Democrats have an advantage.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it does make sense.
That's why there's gerrymandering,
right.
And that's why there's voter suppression, and that's why Republicans want this voter ID stuff.
What? First of all, every Black person, woman, should all be so infuriated that she said that. But this is what the Democrats think. They think, I don't even think they believe it, first of all. They don't believe it. They're using this as a way to keep people from pushing the voter ID.
Well, they're using it to stay in power. This is a political ploy. You know, we live in a state where our congressional map looked like a smashed, broken-winged pterodactyl. Mm-hmm. And then we said, okay, we're going to fight hard to get it better. And it's just a little bit better. Not a lot better. But this is absolutely the bigotry of low expectations. They did many man on the streets in New York City asking people, hey, do you have an ID? And people are like, of course I have an ID. Show me a person who got married with no ID. No. Show me one person who doesn't have enough identification living in 2025. And I'll say, okay, Sonny, I'm going to give you 1% of the population. Maybe Appalachia, maybe, someone who is a very, very, very old person, late 80s, early 90s, maybe light on ID. But hear me on this. If you can't figure out how to get an ID, I don't want you voting. You have so many other things in your life that should take precedence over you voting. Again, this is not about making sure that all Americans have the right to vote. This is about them letting these illegals that they've allowed into this country our right to vote that they don't have. This is all this is about.
That's what it is.
Okay, I got two things because the former federal fuck up, she fucked up. Let me tell you why.
Oh yeah. How bad?
Number
she
one, it's real bad. First of all, I don't know if you heard the sleight of hand or word that she used. She talked about, people, if you're married, women, if you have a passport, it might be different in your birth certificate. Well, guess what? In America, you need your birth certificate to get your passport.
Absolutely.
So therefore, it's a moot point because the birth certificate was used to get that same damn passport. Right? I mean, does that make sense? I told you she was a former federal fuck up, and I don't have a law degree.
That wig is too tight.
I don't have a law degree.
First of all,
you use your birth certificate to get the passport. So therefore, it's a moot point. It doesn't even have to match because you've already gotten the passport that was confirmed with the birth certificate that you used to get it.
By the Department of State.
That's number one.
Right. It's not like you picking it up at the liquor store.
Right.
The Department of State
again, I don't even have a law degree, former federal fuck up. But anyway, there was another article, and this was an article as recently as May 2021. And the title of the article is, Why Do Most Countries Require Photo Voter IDs? ? And then the answer was, they have seen massive voter fraud problems. And the article goes on, at least in the abstract, it talks about how most of Europe has voter ID. You have to use ID to vote in Europe. Now, the last time I checked, most, if not all of Europe was what we call industrialized.
Absolutely.
Modern.
Absolutely.
So something's wrong with them that they require voter ID. That's only Europe. There are other countries around the world that do so as well. Yes. But again, the former federal fuck up is trying to use a sleight of hand. When I heard that again, I said, wait a minute, I have a passport. When I first got my passport, You have to use the birth certificate, right?
First of all, and even to renew it.
Exactly. Right. And when I got my passport, I think I didn't. I got it in the military. But nevertheless, when I got it, I had my second, my quote unquote out of the military one. It had my maiden name, but I had to use it to get my passport. Yes. So what the hell is she talking about?
She's lying. They want fraud and waste in the voting system, just like they want to end Social Security. They never like anyone that is actually trying to go about things the right way. This is what they're doing. And look, again, people buy alcohol, they get SSI, they get Social Security, welfare checks. All of this you have to provide identification for.
Absolutely.
There is really very, very little that you I don't even know how you can go through life really without some type of ID.
Let me tell you, if they're that type of indigent, right? Social services is involved, and social services will get them an identification.
Exactly.
Will absolutely do that. I think it was might have been Afghanistan. I can't remember, but some Muslim nation was having their first quote unquote democratic type election, and they don't have IDs. But you know what they were doing? They'd go up and put their little ballot in the box, but before they put the ballot in there, they had to put their thumbprint, right, to prove their identity on that paper ballot in order to make it count. Again, this is not about what's right. This is not about culture. This is about winning elections.
Right.
All of this is about winning elections. Gerrymandering happens on both sides of the aisle.
Right.
It is about winning elections. It's very much political theater, but it's the bigotry of the low expectations. Tell me again that Black women can't get an ID. Where?
I know plenty of people who have never driven. Older who have never driven a car, but they have ID.
Of course.
They go get, like you said, to buy their personal items, whatever. They have a state ID, a non-driver's license ID, a valid ID. Yes. They go to the pharmacy. They go to the doctors. They use it maybe to catch public transportation. Whatever the case, whatever they need it for, they have ID. These people, again, another table. I wish we could sit around.
Oh, yes. But we all know what it is. Just like the last segment we were talking about Abby Phillip on CNN, talking about basically saying she agreed with illegal immigration. Now you have Sonny Hostin on here talking about we shouldn't have voter ID to vote. They want to do it because they want to cheat.
Yes.
They know having voter ID makes it harder to cheat. And again, these people want lawlessness.
Exactly.
They want lawlessness. I don't understand how anybody can go say to the contrary.
That's it.
They've proven it. They've showed their hand. But, that was one thing when we were working the Trump campaign, the overriding sensation and the training kept telling you, we need to make this too big to rig.
Yeah,
it can't be close.
exactly.
It can't be 1%. So we had to hit not only our numbers, but 15% above that, simply because in some states, I think it was Georgia, when Trump was winning in 2020, one of the Georgia Dems posted on X, well, then Twitter, now X, oh, don't worry, I'm bringing 2,500, Democrat ballots. Well, how do you know what's inside the box? Because the box is supposed to be sealed. It's not supposed to be open. How do you know how many ballots?
And why are you carrying 2,500 ballots on somebody? I mean,
if America really knew how our votes were counted. So, I've been an election chief judge, and what happens is that your ballot falls into a box. Those boxes are taped and secured, and a Democrat.
Oh, after the election, you mean? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
They carry those votes back to the Board of Elections, and you're definitely on the clock, and you need to be there in a timely fashion, and all those kind of things. But in some communities where it's heavily Democratic, people turn the other cheek. They look the other way. They see other things that are happening and don't pay attention to this absolute voter fraud in front of you. One of the ways that we can make sure that doesn't happen is by making sure everyone has an identification.
Absolutely.
And if you get to your polling place and you don't have identification, there should be many, many other ways to certify that you are who you say you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, Sonny Hostin doesn't speak for Black Americans. She speaks for the elite bubble of liberal media. Voter ID is not racist. It's responsible. If you believe the election should be safe, secure, and fair for everyone, drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe. I see we have several comments, super chats here. So let's see what we have. Thank you guys so much. All right, Tijuana border jumpers. Here's a hug, KJ. You scared me. I know. My gosh, I don't like little mice. All right, Rhonda. Yes.
A freedom member.
Ma'am, yes, she is. Says she is a liar and the truth isn't in her.
That's very true, Rhonda. That's very true.
Kung Fu CJ says she needs to worry about her husband.
That
I wonder
part.
whatever happened to that case.
Honey,
Probably still pending.
it's still pending.
Light Bearer, here's a hug for
Oh,
KJ.
Light Bearer.
Thank you.
So
Thank you. All right.
We got
All
one
right.
more.
Do we have one more?
I thought we had
Kung Fu
one,
CJ
another
again.
Kung Fu. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Yes. That is Stacy who said I got 1.2 mil.
Oh yeah, that was I'm Stacey Abrams and
Oh,
yes.
right. Okay. All right, folks. Well, that does it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much. Let's see here. Did we hit our goal? We wanted 15 red super chats. So
Well, we got how many did we get? We got super chats. I don't know.
I don't know.
What's the
I don't-
red?
What's the red? What's the
the red is the $5 one.
well, shoot, we killed that.
Yeah. So
Well,
thank you.
Thank you guys so
guys.
much for supporting
Thank
us.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you so very
Thank you
much.
so much. We certainly appreciate you all.
Mhm.
Your super chats and your support, your likes, all of it help to keep us on YouTube. And it helps to get our voice out there more to more people, get us seen to more people. This is just how it works. So thank you all so much. Again, please hit that like button and subscribe. We will be back on Friday night at 9 p.m. this Friday. So definitely check us out. And again, check out all of the other programs on Metro Conservative Media. Again, I'll be on here tomorrow at Christian Conservative, my channel at KJ Christian Conservative. Then we have Saturday, we have Just the Guys podcast. And then Tuesday, we have the All American Talk Show. So certainly check out all of those channels. They're great channels, all conservative, just from different angles.
Yeah.
Yes, different perspectives.
Different flavor of the same soup.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
All right. Well, that does it for us. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.